Hello and welcome to our 24th session, and we are now going to start with a whole new game. Here we use animations, sound and particle effects. In this session, we will create a beautiful, fast-paced, endless side-scrolling game where the player needs to jump over obstacles in their path. Now, as you were watching and listening to that, you probably noticed that it felt a lot more polished than either of our previous prototypes. That's because this has animation, sound and particle effect. Did you see the character running, jumping and dramatically falling over? Did you hear the sound effects and music in the background? Did you see the little particle effects kicking up from the back of the character's feet and the massive explosion at the end? It's these little touches that will take our good project and make it great. These elements help immerse the player in the environment you have created. Being able to add them to your project will be a literal game changer. As usual, since we are starting a brand new prototype, the first thing we will do is make some creative decisions. The basic premise here is that a character is running and jumping over things. But will it be a farmer jumping over crates in the wilderness, a construction worker jumping over barrels in a quaint town, a guy in a suit jumping over giant pools in a big city? These are decisions that only you can make. But after you have done that, we have got a lot of programming to do. Because by the end of this session, you will be able to press spacebar to jump over obstacles as they fly towards your character at high speeds. Now we have moved the object around before. We have moved a vehicle left and right. We have made animals and food fly across the screen, but we use the translate method to do all those things, and the translate method essentially drags the object through the scene at a particular speed regardless of any laws of physics or how heavy it is. The way we are going to make this character jump is completely different. In order to get that smooth, realistic looking falling motion, we will have to rely on Unity's physics engine, which takes into account the mass of the object, any forces acting on it and the gravity itself. So instead of translating this character up and down, we will call the AddForce method to apply a single upward force on the character's mass and then sit back and let the simulated force of gravity do its thing. So to make all this happen, let's dive into Unity. As usual, come to this Unity Hub shortcut, double click to launch Unity Hub. Now once Unity Hub is launched, I will come into the projects, and in new project, I am again going to use this universal 3D SRP template. Come on the right side and I am going to call my project now as jumping_force, and with location set to eUnity project, I will click on create project. You come into your YouTube video or in the e-learning page, and if you scroll down and in the description, if I click on more, I have provided you with Patreon link. Click on this Patreon link and it will bring you to the Junior Programmer Series Patreon page. And if you scroll down, if you come down, you have been provided with a file, jumpinggamestar.unitypackage. Click on this and wait for that file to get downloaded. Once Unity is launched, on the right hand workspace area, if you click on this layout, and if by chance your Unity is open with this default layout, come into the Patreon page. You can come here into Satvik_layout WLT, click on this to download it. Come into Unity, come into the right side layout panel, click here and you have the option load layout from file. Come to the downloaded Satvik_layout.wlt file, double click to open it, and this will set the workspace just like you see it in my video. In the inspector, you have this URP empty template. This is not required. You can click on remove readme asset, and in the confirmation page, click on proceed. Come into the project panel and on asset, right click and come into import package, custom package. You have your downloaded, select this package and click on open. Now in the import Unity package dialog box, see that all is selected and click on the import button. Come into the project panel. I can close these packages. You have a folder called scenes, open scenes, and here you have a file called as prototype3. Right click on this file and rename this file as jumping_game you have this sample scene. I will right click and delete this file. When it asks for confirmation, click on delete. Now select this jumping_game and double click to open this. If it asks any file to be saved, click on don't save, and this opens the jumping_game scene. If you come into the hierarchy and if you see it, apart from the main camera and direction light, we have one ground and background. If you come into the scene area, right click, turn around, and if you have a look, see, you have one large image placed on the background, and you have one plane or a quad placed here which is applied with a white color. Objects like ground and background that we use to represent a 2D image, we call this as sprite. In my Unity, sprite package is not installed. So in the hierarchy, if I right click in 2D object, I have only pixel perfect camera. If I come here into window, I will then come into package management, package manager. I will come into Unity registry, and here I am going to just type 2D. And now in 2D packages, you have one 2D sprite package. You have version 1. Select this package, click on install. Once this package is installed, close the package manager, and now if you come here back into Unity and if you select background, and you also have one button open sprite editor, and if I click on this, you can open this sprite and edit it. Now if I close this, if I want to change this background, you have one drop down button. If you click on this and if you scroll, we have selected this background town, and the other one the background nature, third one is the background city. For our game, select this background nature. I will close. Now let us add our player. Come into the project panel in assets course library. If you open this, you have a folder called characters, and if you open this and check it, you have form and town. I will open form, and here you have simple form 1 black, form 1 brown, form 1 white, man and woman. Select this form man 1 black and drag it into the scene. In the transform on the right hand corner and click on reset. I will also come into the inspector and rename this as player. If I select the player and press F, I will alt left click and turn around. The player is looking backwards. So I will come into rotation and I will rotate it by 90 degree, and again press F. I will press alt left mouse to turn and have a look at it. I need two components here in future to actually control it through the script. I will come into add component, and first I will add a rigid body component, and I leave everything as it is by default. Then I will again come into add component. I will type collider, and I am going to add a box collider. With player selected, if I press F and come close, you can see the box collider at the bottom. So to align it correctly, I will right click and come here into the back view. I am going to move it along the Y axis to start from the foot like this. Then along the Y axis, I will scale it. I will right click and disable perspective so that I can adjust this correctly. I will set Y scale to 3, and along the center, I will set Y to 1.5. Then I will right click and come into right view. Along the X axis, I am going to scale it up to fill my hand. I will come into the gizmo, click on free view, right click, turn around. I will click in this right gizmo on this ISO to change it back to perspective view. Now to control this player, I need a script. I will come into the project panel, close this course library, and in asset I will right click and create a new folder. I am going to call this folder as scripts. Then I will right click, come into create, and I will create a new mono behavior script, and I am going to call this as player control and press enter. Allow the script to get compiled, and you see that public class player control name and the file name is the same. Now I will select this player control script, drag it into my hierarchy and drop it over the player. In the player inspector, we have this player control script added. Double click player control to open it in my Visual Studio Code. First time, if you see this pop up, click on yes, I trust the authors. In this case, I will come into Unity engine. Now coming back to Unity, so if I select player, press F and zoom in, and if I just zoom out a little, I want this player to jump. So if he has to jump, he has to move along the y-axis. If we use the logic that we used in our previous session, I can just come into player control, and for example in start, I can just call this transform, and in transform period, I will call this translate function, and for translate in open close bracket, we are going to add 3 values. X I will set it to 0, and along Y I will set it to 10, and along Z if I set it to 0. And if I now save it, and now if I come into Unity, allow it to compile, and now if I play the game and check it, see, it jumped. And why is it coming back after jumping? This is because we have applied gravity to it. So now if I play it, see, now it is jumping, say it goes and come back. This kind of jumping is not natural. I will stop and play it again. See, now he is jumping suddenly to 10 units and he is dropping down slowly. So we want this movement to be smooth. We are not going to use this Transform.Translate for movements where we need physics. When we have applied gravity, applying Transform.Translate will not work correctly. And in this case, we are going to make use of the component Rigidbody. So come back to Visual Studio Code. I am going to do the same animation now using a different technique. And how are we going to do it? It is using the Unity physics. I will come into class PlayerControl. After the open flower bracket, I will press enter and I will add a comment. Create a variable to hold Rigidbody component. And I will press enter. I will keep it private. The type of variable I am going to declare is Rigidbody. And after space, I will call this as player RB and end it with semicolon. In case of Transform.Translate, I can use it directly. But in case of rigid bodies, I have to first assign the Rigidbody component to my variable. And this I am going to do it as soon as the game starts. So if I come into void start and after this open bracket, I will press an enter. I am going to add 2 forward slashes and now I am going to assign the Rigidbody component to the variable. I will press enter and I will call my variable player RB and this will be equal to, if you come into Unity, for every game object, transform is a component, Rigidbody is a component, box collider is a component. I have to get this component in the code, and for that if I come into the Visual Studio, we are going to use a command in Unity called as GetComponent, G and C are capital, and then I am going to add less than and greater than sign. Components are called between this greater than and lesser than sign, and between this I am going to call my component Rigidbody. I will come out of the greater than sign. I will add open close brackets and end it with semicolon. This Rigidbody component is attached to my player. To test this, I will come to player RB, and since we have added Rigidbody, if I press period, there are many methods available in Rigidbody and one of the method is AddForce. Now we are moving it not by animation but by applying physics. So I am going to add a force and I will add open close bracket and end it with semicolon, and inside the bracket first I have to declare the direction in which I want the force to be applied, and here I want it in the y direction. For that I will call vector 3 period up, and I am going to multiply this by a value. Say for example, as of now I will multiply it by 10 and I will add comma, and then when you are applying the force, you have different types of force. Mean, what is the kind of force? Are you applying the force using a car accelerator, or are you throwing a ball? Are you jumping? So for this, in the second component here, we are going to call force mode, and if you press period, you have either you can accelerate it, force it, impulse or velocity change. You have 4 options here. If you are driving a car, we keep it acceleration, but in impulse means the force is applied only once, just like you jump or throw a ball, and because of that impulse, the object is going to move. So I am going to use this ForceMode.Impulse. I will come out of the bracket and end it with semicolon. If I save it, now if I come back to Unity and allow the script to compile, now if I come and play this, you can now see the player is going to jump and come down. If I again stop and play, the player jumps and come down, and you can see the difference in the motion between this and the translate transform. So now I will stop the playback. Now the player is jumping when I click the play button, but actually in my game, when I press a key, for example when I press space bar, the character has to jump. In our regular coding process, if we use the method that we used in our previous sessions, I can come into Visual Studio Code, I will come into void update, and we used the if statement, and in open close bracket we declared a condition, and the condition was input, and we called this get key down, and in get key down in open close bracket, which key I have to get? I am going to call key code and call for space. Then I will press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this flower bracket I am going to take this command PlayerRB AddForce, this command, cut it and put it into this in the if statement. So only when the key space is pressed, now the player is going to jump till now. So I will go into file, save this, and now I will come back into Unity, allow the script to compile, and once the script is compiled, I am going to play. You are not seeing him jump. If you come into Windows General Console, we had this error, and the solution was I used to stop the playback, close this, come into edit, and I used to come into project setting, and I used to come into other settings, scroll down, and I used to come here and select my input type handling and used to change it to both. You would have observed there was a warning saying that this old input system is getting depreciated. See, the difference between the input system package new and old is the new Unity system uses a new system which is called as DOTS. DOTS. It stands for Data Oriented Technology Stack. Now this is a new system which is going to boost the performance of your game and scalability. I haven't changed this to both. I have kept it in new only. I will close this. Now if you keep on using this old system, for older games or small games like this, you will not have any issue. But if you are building highly performing games like F1 car race, then there will be a lot of difference in the performance of your game, and Unity always asks you to use the new input system package which is based on DOTS. Just changing the input setting to both, I can make this game work. But for you to understand the new system, we are going to make this player jump using the new input system based on data oriented technology stack, which we call as DOTS. And this part we are going to do it in our next session.